Today, I'm here to talk about one of the most epic hikes in the entire national park system, Angel's Landing in Zion National Park. Now, let me set the stage. Zion is Utah's first national park, and it's giving main character energy. Towering sandstone cliffs, a river carving through the canyon, and hikes that range from cute little stroll to are we sure this isn't an audition for Survivor? And Angel's Landing, yeah, it's the crown jewel of the are you serious right now hikes. I visited Zion National Park and got to hike Angel's Landing in July 2023 when my trusty travel pup Molly and I did an RV trip out west. Angel's Landing is famous, partly because of the views, also because of the sheer drop-offs on either side of the trail near the top. We're talking a narrow ridge, chains to hold on to, and a casual 1,500-foot plummet if you misstep. The whole hike is about 5 miles round trip with about 1,500 feet of elevation gain, which doesn't sound too bad until you hit this fun section in the middle called Walter's Wiggles. Yet once you make it to the top, the payoff is unreal. You're standing on a sandstone fin with panoramic views of Zion Canyon that make you feel like you really are hanging out with the angels, though maybe slightly sweatier. Now, here's the catch. Angel's Landing is so popular that Zion had to implement a permit lottery system starting in 2022. So if you want to do this hike, you can't just roll up with your hiking boots and your emotional support granola bar. You have to win the right to climb it. There's two options. One is the seasonal lottery. This is for all of you planners. A few months before your trip, you toss your name in the hat, cross your fingers, and hope the permit gods smile upon you. Think of it like trying to get Taylor Swift tickets, but with fewer sequins and more switchbacks. The second option is the day before lottery. This one is for the procrastinators, the spontaneous adventurers, or anyone whose cousins suddenly bailed on their permit. You know, the ones that thrive on chaos. You apply the day before, and if luck's on your side, boom, you're climbing the chains tomorrow. If not, well, I hope you enjoy the gift shop. Either way, it's a $6 application fee and $3 if you do get picked and choose to do the hike. You can apply for the lottery at recreation.gov. And yes, even though you're literally gambling for a hike, it's worth it. The park wanted to reduce crowding on the chain section because let's be real, it's terrifying enough without adding traffic jams to the mix. So if you're planning a Zion trip, get your lottery application in early and pray to the hiking gods. Now, I did the day before lottery twice. The first day I was not successful, so I opted to hike the Narrows instead. Then I resubmitted and got a pass for Angel's Landing. If you're tackling the hike, do yourself a favor and get into Zion early. I'm talking sunrise early, because not only will you beat the crowds, you'll also snag cooler temps before the sun turns that canyon into a toaster oven. Most of the year, cars aren't even allowed on the main scenic drive in Zion, so you'll be hopping on the park shuttle. Take the shuttle to stop number 6, the Grotto. To get to Angel's Landing, you'll start out on the West Rim Trail. It is an awesome 2.1-mile hike to Scouts Lookout. I don't recommend this to anyone with small kids or fear of heights. It starts off in the sun with lots of long switchbacks. And it was still early morning when I was at this section, and yet it already started to feel warm. There's like zero shade too. Then you get to a flatter section in the Shady Rock crevice. I had to keep quiet in that area because signs said the Mexican spotted owls were nesting. This section was a nice break from both the sun and the steep path, although it was short-lived. Because soon enough, around 1.8 miles in, I got to the bottom of the infamous Walter's Wiggles. I had, of course, heard of these before. They were designed in 1924, and Walter's Wiggles are the short, steep switchbacks I'm sure that you've seen in pictures. I thought the first set of long switchbacks in the sun were them. I was very wrong. There are 21 of these short, very steep back and forth passes that take you up 250 feet in a very short distance. I felt like I was in great shape, yet definitely stopped at least once to catch my breath. So then you arrive at Scouts Lookout at 5,330 feet elevation and over 1,000 feet above the canyon floor. There were a lot of people sitting here resting or grabbing a snack. Now, once here, you have 3 options. First, you can turn around and head back down, or you can keep going along the West Rim Trail for almost 13 more miles, Or you can continue the adventure to Angel's Landing. This is one of the most iconic Zion views you've ever seen, and it's super awesome and super dangerous. The numbers differ depending on your source, so anywhere from 14 to 19 people have died falling during this hike. Now, 13 of those have been since 2000, so it's not like it was decades ago as the trail was being marked for the first time. Angel's Landing gets its name from Minister Frederick Vining Fisher, who visited Zion Canyon in 1916 and said the peak was so high and steep that only an angel could land there. It's 0.5 miles from Scouts Lookout to the top of Angel's Landing. This part of the trail has steep drop-offs and poor footing, yet the views along the way and at the end are totally worth it. Once word got out to enough adventure seekers that this was a badass hike and so Instagrammable, the trail got really busy and it became dangerous for that many people to be on it at once. Hence the permit system. And you best mind the permit system. The fine for hiking without a permit is up to $5,000 and or 6 months in jail. When you're applying for your permit, you choose from 3 different time slots to ensure everyone is spaced out safely. You can pick start times before 9 a.m., between 9 a.m. and noon, and afternoon. This refers to when you leave Scouts Landing and you continue up the other half mile. I took some amazing footage along the hike to show everyone how cool it was, as well as to scare my mother. Almost the whole way has chains for you to hold on to. It starts with a super steep, like almost straight up cliff face, and then it goes over a series of hills and through some wooded steep parts again. And the narrowest part of this trail is only a few feet wide with 1,000-foot drop-offs on each side. Fortunately, I had great weather, yet it was quite windy. I mean, so windy that the heavy chains that you hold onto were blowing around in the wind. This was probably the longest half mile of my life. It could also have been because I kept taking pictures and videos. You're climbing, and just when you think you've reached the top, you see another taller point ahead on the trail. And then up until finally you've reached the top at 5,990 feet. Now, if you keep walking along the flat top, you get to the very end of the rock where people are resting and laying in the sun. They're enjoying the view and having lunch. And it feels amazing up there taking in the 360-degree view. Now, if you thought the climb up was tough, just wait for the descent. I think it's even trickier in places going down. It seemed easier to climb up and hold on to things that were at and above where you were instead of doing that in reverse and grabbing down. By the way, remember the permit? As I descended the Angel's Landing section back down to Scouts Landing, there were rangers there checking everyone's permits. Since very few people get cell service up there, they suggest printing your permit. I didn't have the ability to do that with the day before lottery, so I made sure to take a screenshot of my phone so I could pull that up more easily than the recreation.gov app. Now, since Zion National Park's rise in popularity since COVID, it could be very crowded at times. 70% of all the visitors go between April and September. I'd suggest a September or October visit to minimize traffic while still enjoying some nice weather. If you go in November through March, you may experience some snow on the higher elevation trails like this one. And if you go in June or July like I did, be prepared for the heat and for the sun. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you can follow along and dream big for your journeys on the Great Escape. See you next time, adventurers.